Long ago, deep within the vast forests of old Russia, there lived a young girl named Vasilisa. She was known throughout her village for her gentle heart, her kindness, and a quiet wisdom that seemed far beyond her years. But Vasilisa's happiness was shadowed by a great sorrow. When she was still a child, her beloved mother fell gravely ill. Knowing that her time in the world was coming to an end, her mother called Vasilisa to her bedside. From beneath her blanket, she produced a small wooden doll, no larger than a hand. It was simple and carved with loving care. Placing it into her daughter's trembling palms, she whispered, "Keep this doll with you always. Feed it when you are troubled, and listen carefully to what it tells you. It will guide you when the path is dark and your heart is uncertain." Soon afterward, her mother passed away. Though grief filled Vasilisa's heart, she treasured the doll and carried it wherever she went. She did not yet understand that this tiny gift represented something far greater than magic. It was a symbol of the quiet voice within us all, the voice of intuition, wisdom, and inner guidance that appears when we are willing to listen. As the years passed, Vasilisa's father remarried. At first, she hoped life would become easier, but her new stepmother brought with her 2 daughters who were cruel, jealous, and selfish. While Vasilisa worked tirelessly from sunrise until long after sunset, her stepsisters spent their days complaining, gossiping, and finding new ways to make her life difficult. No matter how hard Vasilisa tried to please them, it was never enough. They criticized her cooking, mocked her appearance, and assigned her endless chores. Many nights she cried alone in her room, wondering why life had become so unfair. Yet each time her sadness threatened to overwhelm her, she remembered her mother's gift. She would take out the little doll, offer it a crumb of bread, and share her troubles. Somehow, the doll always knew exactly what to say. It reminded her to remain patient, to trust herself, and not to let bitterness take root in her heart. The strange thing was that the doll never solved her problems for her. Instead, it helped her discover strength she already possessed. Much like our own inner wisdom, it offered guidance, but left the choices in her hands. And little by little, Vasilisa grew stronger than anyone realized.
One cold autumn evening, Vasilisa's father left on a long journey. Her stepmother saw an opportunity. Secretly, she had grown to despise Vasilisa's kindness because it revealed the ugliness in her own heart. Together with her daughters, she devised a cruel plan. As darkness settled over the forest, they extinguished every candle and every fire in the house. Soon the rooms were swallowed by blackness. The stepmother pretended to panic and cried out, "We have no fire! Someone must go to Baba Yaga's hut and bring back a flame." Everyone knew who Baba Yaga was. Stories about the mysterious witch filled every village. She lived deep within the darkest part of the forest, surrounded by skulls that glowed with eerie light. Few who entered her domain ever returned. The stepmother and stepsisters pushed Vasilisa toward the door and sent her into the night alone. Fear gripped her heart. Every instinct told her to run. Yet standing there beneath the cold stars, she remembered the doll. Sometimes life places us in situations we never wanted and never chose. The comfortable path disappears, and the only way forward leads directly through fear. Those moments often become the beginning of our greatest transformation.
The forest seemed alive as Vasilisa walked beneath towering pines. Branches creaked overhead. Strange shadows stretched between the trees. Every sound made her heart race. More than once, she considered turning back. But where would she go? Home no longer felt safe, and the darkness ahead seemed no worse than the darkness behind her. Finally, she stopped beside an ancient tree and took out the little doll. After feeding it a crumb of bread, She whispered, "I am afraid." The doll replied gently, "Fear is natural. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward despite it." Those words changed everything. Vasilisa realized that brave people are not fearless people. They simply refuse to let fear become their master. As she continued her journey, she noticed 3 mysterious riders crossing the forest. One wore white, another red, and the third black. They vanished into the trees like spirits. Though she did not understand their meaning, she sensed that she was witnessing something important. Life often sends us signs before we understand their purpose. The challenge is not always to understand immediately, but to trust that clarity will come with time.
At last, Vasilisa arrived at Baba Yaga's dwelling. It stood unlike any house she had ever seen. The hut balanced on giant chicken legs and turned slowly in a clearing. Around it stood a fence made from human bones, topped with glowing skulls whose eyes burned like lanterns. The sight was terrifying. Yet Vasilisa remembered the doll's advice and stepped forward. Soon, Baba Yaga appeared. The old witch was fearsome, with sharp teeth and piercing eyes that seemed capable of seeing every secret hidden inside a person's soul. Instead of granting fire immediately, Baba Yaga offered a bargain. "Serve me well," she said, "and you may earn what you seek. Fail, and I will eat you." It was a dreadful choice, but Vasilisa understood that she had already come too far to retreat. Many people encounter moments like this in life. We face challenges that seem impossible and responsibilities we never asked for. Yet growth rarely occurs when everything is easy. Sometimes the very obstacles we fear become the training ground where strength, wisdom, and confidence are forged. The next morning, Baba Yaga assigned impossible work. Mountains of grain had to be sorted. The house needed cleaning. Meals had to be prepared perfectly. Every task seemed designed to ensure failure. As soon as the witch departed, Vasilisa felt despair rising inside her. No matter how hard she worked, she could never finish everything alone. Once again, she turned to the doll. After hearing her worries, the doll smiled and said, "Rest for a moment. Trust yourself." While Vasilisa slept, the doll completed the tasks with miraculous speed. When Baba Yaga returned, she was astonished to find everything done flawlessly. Day after day, the tests continued, and day after day, Vasilisa succeeded. Yet the true lesson was not that magic solved her problems. The deeper lesson was that she learned to stop panicking. Instead of surrendering to overwhelm, she sought wisdom, trusted guidance, and focused on one step at a time. In our own lives, enormous challenges often appear impossible when viewed all at once. But when we trust ourselves and take the next step, solutions begin to emerge that were invisible before. Eventually, Baba Yaga grew curious. Few people survived her tests, yet Vasilisa remained calm and respectful. The witch questioned her closely and demanded to know how she succeeded. Vasilisa answered honestly. She spoke of her mother's blessing and the guidance she received from the little doll. At those words, Baba Yaga became strangely silent. Though powerful, even she respected the strength of a mother's blessing and the wisdom carried through generations. Before leaving, Vasilisa gathered enough courage to ask about the 3 mysterious riders she had seen in the forest. Baba Yaga explained that the white rider was day, the red rider was the sun, and the black rider was night. Suddenly, Vasilisa understood. The world was filled with forces larger than herself, all moving according to patterns she could not fully see. This realization brought peace. We often believe we must control everything to feel secure, but true wisdom comes from recognizing that life contains mysteries beyond our understanding. We do not need all the answers immediately.
sometimes it is enough to trust the journey and remain open to what it teaches us.
Finally, Baba Yaga granted Vasilisa her reward. She handed her a glowing skull whose eyes burned with magical fire. Carrying it carefully, Vasilisa began the long journey home. The forest no longer seemed quite as frightening. The girl who entered the woods had been uncertain and afraid. The young woman returning possessed confidence born from experience. When she reached her house, her stepmother and stepsisters rushed forward eagerly, hoping to use the fire. But as the skull's glowing eyes turned toward them, something extraordinary happened. The fire recognized the cruelty hidden within their hearts. Its light grew brighter and brighter until their wickedness was consumed completely. The tale tells this event literally, but symbolically, it reveals a profound truth. Real growth exposes falsehood. When we develop wisdom, courage, and self-respect, toxic influences often lose their power over us. The fire represented truth itself, and truth has a remarkable ability to illuminate what can no longer remain hidden. Though painful at times, this illumination clears the way for a healthier and more authentic future.
With her difficult past behind her, Vasilisa left the old house and began building a new life. No longer controlled by fear or the approval of others, she trusted her own judgment. She worked diligently, treated people with kindness, and continued carrying the little doll close to her heart. Over time, her reputation spread far beyond the village. People admired her wisdom, her grace, and her remarkable resilience. Eventually, her path crossed with that of the Tsar himself. Impressed by her intelligence and character, he fell deeply in love with her. They married, and Vasilisa became a beloved queen. Yet her greatest achievement was not wealth, status, or power. It was the person she had become through adversity. The hardships she once wished to escape had shaped her into someone capable of extraordinary leadership and compassion. This is a lesson many of us discover only later in life. The struggles we resent today may be preparing us for opportunities we cannot yet imagine. Growth often disguises itself as difficulty long before it reveals its purpose.
The story of Vasilisa has endured for centuries because it speaks to something timeless within every human being. The magic doll was never merely a magical object. It represented intuition, inner wisdom, and the quiet voice that exists beneath fear, doubt, and noise. Throughout her journey, Vasilisa faced cruelty, uncertainty, danger, and impossible challenges. Yet every victory began the same way. She paused, she listened, she trusted the guidance that came from within. Modern life often encourages us to seek answers everywhere except inside ourselves. We look for approval, validation, and certainty from others. But Vasilisa's tale reminds us that some of the most important guidance comes from the wisdom already living within us. Your inner voice may not shout. It may speak softly through intuition, values, and quiet conviction. Learning to trust it takes practice. It takes courage. But when you do, you discover something powerful. Like Vasilisa, you realize that the strength you have been searching for was never outside you. It has been waiting inside all along, ready to guide you through even the darkest forest toward the life you were meant to create.